Hi everyone, thanks for joining me today. Oh, and then the Three of Wands. So if you can, I think it's a real change in perception is needed this month in your work, and then you're going to see things much more clearly. He's this person's very high up. This woman, I think it's I don't know what it is, but I love it. There's a cat there. Very high up, getting a very high perspective, well above the emotions of this water down here, really looking at the big picture. So taking a step back this month, really reassessing from a high point of view, looking at the data and trying to recalibrate, make some plans, making some adjustments. But the biggest adjustments that are going to help in your career this month are in the way you are approaching something. Okay, moving right along to relationships. So this is a card I feel like a lot of us are looking back on a past relationship and with a lot of nostalgia and yearning for it. But I sort of feel like it wasn't as wonderful as you thought it was. Um, and the caution of this card, the wonderful thing about this card is ways to sort of get yourself out of a funk is to stop and smell the roses, approach life with the wonderment of a child and enjoy the simple things in life. But the caution about this card is that we often don't remember things the way they actually were. We remember them better or worse. And if you could literally go back in time and relive that experience, you would probably be like, oh, I forgot about that. And I forgot, well, I really didn't have such a good time, or that wasn't as bad as I remember. Why did what triggered me to remember that in a negative light when it actually was mostly pretty fun? And we can do the same thing with relationships, but I guess I just like to say that relationships have usually ended for a reason, and to be careful that you're not viewing it with rose-colored glasses just because you sort of miss the idea of being in a relationship, which I can totally understand. But maybe the actual reality of the relationship wasn't as great as you were remembering if you really think about it, or if you were to really go back in time. So I don't know if those thoughts of nostalgia, remembering things as better and worse, is potentially holding us back this month from moving forward. And the Strength card tells you that sometimes you have to, it's not about white knuckling it. That's not what the Strength card is about, for me at least. It's about actually making yourself vulnerable and doing things even though it scares you, and taking risks even though you're unsure of how it's going to work out. I mean, that's what I think successful people do. You don't know until you actually live most experiences how it's going to work out, right? So you kind of have to just go for it. I wouldn't be surprised if the Fool card comes up. But maybe you need to make yourself vulnerable and either in a current relationship express, this has been coming up a lot too, have that conversation, even if having that conversation runs the risk of the whole relationship falling apart. It's kind of like, it's not a solid relationship. Next. Yes, Seven of Swords. I feel like we had been wronged in the past, hurt in a relationship, and we're letting it contaminate our relationships or ability to have relationships in the future, in the present. I mean, boy, I can relate to this. Don't have much Aquarius in my chart, but so really think about this month. If you are, through how you remember things with the Six of Cups, allowing past experiences to creep into your current experience or stop you from being in new relationships because you're afraid to be vulnerable again, which is totally understandable. And then we have the High Priest. So this is an interesting card, and it's funny, I was just talking about Trevor Hall because I often point people to, if I remember, I'll try to put the link in. Um, there's a song called Wishman where Trevor describes how he wrote this song called Wishman, and it talks about how, this card is about tradition and, a traditional spiritual leader, but I actually see it as a much broader card in that we can find spiritual guidance from sources we wouldn't normally think to go to for spiritual guidance. And that's what kind of the essence of his song Wishman is about. So I would suggest you go listen to his story about writing that song because it's really spiritual and interesting. For example, when we do have the Six of Cups, which points to children, my son blows my mind on a daily basis with the things he comes out with. I don't know what it is. He's super dyslexic, so he has like this really cool mind that just sees things in a different way. I can't even explain it, but he just comes out with these mind-blowing things that just, I'm like, wow, it's fabulous. It's great. So children can be an amazing source of enlightenment and just sort of making you stop and go, wow, I didn't even really think about it that way. Obviously, I'm not telling you to go talk to your kids about your old relationships necessarily. But you may get nuggets of wisdom from unusual places, and to look for those sort of synchronicities this month, and maybe you'll get insight into why you may be carrying past issues into current relationships or to keep you from current relationships in sort of unusual places. And our bonus card, this came out for someone else. Wow. And this just talks about, for me in the relationship category, looking for practical ways to move forward from here. So really getting clear on what you want from a relationship, what you think, you maybe making a list, like, what do I want? What do I don't want? What am I willing to compromise on? What am I not willing to compromise on? What are the traits I think I want in a spouse or a partner? I don't know why I said spouse. What are the traits I don't want? What are deal breakers? What would be nice to have but aren't necessary? And then be willing to throw all those out the window when you meet someone that doesn't fit any, because that's probably the best person. But, just sort of going through these practical steps and exploration can help get some things straight in your mind. And this has been coming up a lot too, is if you do feel like I may have already said this, or this may have been the last video, they're all jumbling together now. I've done so many. Going to a counselor is so great to make sure, like, am I carrying baggage from old relationships that may be, preventing me from moving forward now? And it's always a good time to check in with someone. But I feel like you may get to a point this month where you realize you just have to make yourself vulnerable in a relationship in order to move forward or bring the relationship you want into your life. It's kind of scary, but it's kind of exciting too. And I'll see you at the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.